Don't make these prepper mistakes. I have been prepping for a really long time, and I'll tell you, I've made some pretty big mistakes over the years. Definitely. We all make mistakes. Nobody is perfect, and maybe my mistakes can help somebody else, because there are lots of things that I have done personally myself that were not the best choices, but I thought they were a good idea at the time. And I think it's important for us to learn from each other, and we all learn from each other, definitely. And there is, at this time, we don't have a lot of time to waste, and we don't want to be making valuable mistakes that can cost us in the long run. We just don't have time for that right now. It's not really even about the money at this point. Things are so chaotic in our world. Stuff can go down at any moment, and we need to be ready. So these are a couple of mistakes that I have made over the years that were kind of costly, and I think that maybe they can be helpful to you guys, because we just want to be prepared and make sure we have what we need. So one of the first mistakes I ever made was not rotating my pantry. Your 30-year food is fine. You can set that back, not touch it. It's going to be okay. But it's those canned goods and things like that, things that we plan to use in the next 2 years, but sometimes they get shuffled away, or sometimes we're just not using some of those items. So rotating your stock is really important. If stuff sets too long, the cans can bust open, they can leak, you can have all kinds of problems. So you want to make sure that you're rotating through it. Any bit that you are spending on it, you don't want to waste that money, and you don't want to waste your time and effort that you put into it either. So keeping your pantry rotated is really a big one, and that is a big mistake that a lot of people make. They just get the stuff, put it away, and forget about it. And some things you can do that with. Those long-term items that are going to last 25, 30 years, those are fine to do that. But those shorter term things that need to be used up in 5 years or 10 years, you want to keep your eye on those really and keep them rotated. The next thing is, don't slack off on replenishing what you're using from your pantry. Sometimes we will dig into our pantry and we use things and, oh, I'll get that later, or, it's not a big deal. I have 20 cans of this item. So the next thing we know, we have no cans of that item left in the pantry. And if something were to happen, if your stock gets too low on certain items and the things that you use all the time, and let's say you lost your job or you became sick and was put out of work for a couple of months, those things are going to be really important. You want to have those foods and items in your supplies that you use on a regular basis, and you want to make sure you have a good stock of them, and making sure when you use something, write it on a list. I buy those little magnetic notepad things that stick on the fridge, and when I pull something from the pantry, it goes on the list. And if I have room to buy 2 or 3 at that moment, I will. But if I only have room for that one item, I will put a number 1 next to it. We do that. We will number it, Or if I notice that, whoa, I'm not the only one pulling soup. My kids love to grab soups because they're quick, easy lunches. I might notice in the pantry, oh my God, I'm down 6 cans, so I have to write that down. Get 6 cans of this type of soup, because that's the kind that the kids go to all the time. So we just want to make sure that we're regularly replenishing this. And I try to beef up the most when there's a sale or anything like that, so I can get it at the cheapest point. So if there's a sale and you have a coupon, definitely throw it on there. That's going to be your biggest discount, so you can get more into your pantry. But making sure we're replenishing that all the time is really important, because when something happens, we usually don't have any notice of it. The next thing is, don't buy things you don't like. Just because they're on sale or you can't find what you're looking for, don't just buy something because it's there. and to fill in that space. I think it's important to make sure we like what's in our pantry. In an emergency situation, if you were sick, out of work for 2 months, if there's a collapse, if anything happens, your car goes down, you don't have a car to get to the store for a while, those type of things, we need to be prepared for that. And we want to make sure that when we can't get out and when all we have is that pantry, that we actually like the things in the pantry, because in a long-term situation, eating a bunch of food you can't stand is not going to be nice. You are not going to be happy. You'll eat it and you'll be alive, but I think it's important to just go ahead and grab those things that you really like, those go-to items that you're constantly having to replace. Beef up those. Those are the ones that you really love, and you can tell the stuff that sits there too long, maybe not stock as much of that. So really looking at that and making sure that we're buying the things we love and not just buying things to have things in the pantry. I think that's really important as well. And the next one is, don't just buy things because they're cheap. It kind of goes along with the other one. Just because it's on sale doesn't mean you're going to like it. If we find a good deal on something, we always try to buy 1 or 2, and then we try it. If we don't like it, we don't buy more. If we do like it, then I'll go stock up and buy 20, 30 of them, and make sure that I have a good supply of it if it's something we enjoy, because we're always finding new things that we like. And I think that is really, really important, to make sure that we like them. And even if the one we like is 10 cents more, it's worth it in the long run, because having a bunch of stuff that you're not going to use is not helpful to you. The next thing is, don't leave your stuff in disarray. We want to make sure that we are keeping our preps organized. One thing, and I had a huge problem with this in the beginning, was not being able to find things. I knew I had 500 Band-Aids, but I couldn't find one. That's a problem. I might as well have not had it. I actually had to go to the store and buy Band-Aids one day because I could not find them. And that is a big problem. Keeping your preps organized is really important. That way, when there's an emergency and you need bandages or you need something else, matches, anything at all, if you know right where they are and everything is organized in containers, labeled, it's going to make it so much easier for you. And, you're not going to have to try and figure out where the hell are those Band-Aids, because that was a huge, huge problem of mine in the beginning, was the whole organization thing. I am not normally a very organized person, but keeping my pantry and my preps organized is a really high priority, because if you can't find it, you might as well not have it. The next thing I think we shouldn't do is don't wait to learn skills. Skills a lot of times don't cost anything. It's just a matter of getting the hang of it, working on it until we get really good at it and comfortable and confident with it. And that is one thing. A lot of people are like, oh, I'll practice that later. Oh, I'll learn that later. If shit hits the fan today, learning it later could definitely be a problem. We want to make sure that we're working on those skills all the time, and so we're prepared when something happens, we're ready to take control of the situation and take care of what we need to. We want to make sure that we've got those skills down, and no sense to wait on them. Most of them don't cost anything. The next one is, don't buy cheap gear that you may have to bet your life on. I know I am all about saving money where I can, but some things are not worth buying cheap. They just are not worth it. You're not going to buy the cheapest pew-pew that you can. You want to make sure that if you're going to invest in something like that, that it's going to be a good quality and it's going to work. You don't want something that jams up all the time, or buying a cheap knife, a Dollar Tree knife. I've had those things fold up on my hands, and you can get hurt from them. Not that they're horrible, and they are useful in their own right. They definitely are. For $1, they'll definitely get you through a couple of binds. But if it's something that I know that later on I may have to bet my life on that, I want a good quality tool to do that. So we want to make sure that, you know, we're saving money where we can, but we also are not scrimping on things that really, really matter and are, you know, can be life-saving. We want to make sure those items are good quality. Cheap is good, but good quality is more important on some items. And the last mistake that I see a lot of people make, and I know a lot of you think it's crazy that I talk about this stuff online, but I do not tell everybody all the stuff I have. I don't show where my stuff is, and there's a reason for that. It isn't safe. If you go flashing around to everybody about your thousands of canned goods and all the stuff that you have stocked up and, you know, all this things that you've been doing, you don't want to be sharing that with just anybody. Yeah, you may have a family member that you're comfortable sharing that with. They're doing the same thing, or a person that, you know, I have a very close friend that knows a lot of the stuff that I do. I don't know that she knows everything that I do, and nobody knows where all of my stuff is, because I think it's really important to spread your stuff out. You shouldn't have it all in one place. If someone were to break into your home and you have all your stuff in one area, they can wipe you out in minutes. But if you have stuff spread around in different places in your home, if you're fortunate enough to have different places to put stuff, different houses, locations, I definitely think we should be spreading it around and not have everything in one place. You know, having some things buried somewhere is also a great idea. There's so many different things we can do to split up what we have so it's not all in one place. Because a fire, someone breaking in, I mean, you could lose everything at once, and that would be detrimental and could really hurt you. You want to make sure that you are not sharing all this stuff with everybody that you talk to, and, you know, making sure you're keeping it kind of on the lowdown. You don't want some crazy guy down the street that doesn't care and is willing to shoot you for a can of peas. You know, you don't want him to know that maybe you have 2 cans of peas, but because some people are just nuts and they are entitled and they believe you owe it to them. So I think it's really important to kind of keep that to yourself and make sure that if you can, split your things up and move them away from each other. If someone broke into your house and you have stuff stashed all over the place and in different places, not near each other, they're not going to go through every nook and cranny of the house. They're going to go where they think they're going to find something, and then if they find a stash, they're going to think they found the whole stash a lot of times, or maybe they'll find 2 stashes, you know, but they probably won't find everything. Most people that are breaking in houses want to go in and out and fast. You know, they don't want to get caught. They want to just get what they want and get out. So splitting that stuff up is really, really important, and making sure that we're not sharing that with everybody exactly what we're doing can definitely be helpful as well. We want to be careful, and we want to be able to protect ourselves and do it in the easiest fashion possible. So that is it for my couple of prepper mistakes today. I think there are lots of other mistakes that I have made over the years, but we all can, you know, learn from each other. If you have made other mistakes, please put them down in the comments down below, and, you know, just to help other people learn from things that we have messed up ourselves, because we all make mistakes. It's okay. None of us are perfect, and that's okay. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!